Shalom Aleichem, everyone. Thank you for running on PST tonight. I really appreciate it. Persian Standard Time. I was able to come on time, so Baruch Hashem. I would just like to thank my dear friends Danny and Nina Roshenshad for sponsoring tonight's shir. It's in memory of both of their grandfathers, Aziz ben Mordechai HaKohen and Mordechai ben Yecheskel HaKohen. In the zechut of all of the Torah that we learned tonight, and we hope Bezat Hashem a little bit of chizuk that we're going to take, the neshamot should have aliyot, they should have a great elevation. And thank you to my dear friend Rabbi Lolian for inviting me and for having such a beautiful kahala kavod, such a beautiful crowd that is here tonight. I guess, but there's no World Cup game tonight? That's why everybody's here?
No, it's
It's getting romantic in here. Wow, very nice. Speaking about the Chorban Beis HaMikdash, the destruction of the temple, is probably one of the most difficult things that we can discuss. And that's because it happened so many thousands of years ago. It's something that we are very far removed from. You can only mourn the loss of something that you actually feel that you are connected to. But if you don't feel connected, if you don't know what it was about, if you don't know what was going on over there, then 2,000 years later, it's very, very hard during this time of the year to feel even 1 ounce of pain, 1 ounce of what we are missing, because we have no idea at all. Speaking of the World Cup, I took my children to a bowling alley the other day, and nowadays no one goes to bowl, they just go to watch TV while they're bowling. That's how it works. And in this particular bowling alley there was nothing less than, I believe, a maybe 15-foot screen that was behind the end of the bowling alley. So usually you could not look so much, but there's no way you cannot look. You take off your glasses, you can't bowl. You look the other way, you can't bowl. So you're looking. So what was on the entire time that we were bowling? World Cup. Portugal versus España. Okay, big game that everybody's waiting for. Portugal, Ramon, whatever the guy's name is, he's the big one. Everybody's got the money on him. He's going to score the winning goal. So you're watching a bunch of grown men run around a gigantic grass field to kick a little ball about this big. And the crowd's going wild. They're screaming, they're yelling, face painted, colors on, flags, screaming, jumping up and down. No one's scoring. Nobody is scoring. We're playing bowling for about an hour. 1 hour, it's the most boring thing I've ever seen in my life. No one's scoring a goal. But the fans are pumped up and they are cheering and they're going wild. And apparently Portugal is supposed to win. They're the best. But at the last moments, in the last quarter, however it works in soccer, so España comes right up to Spain comes right up to the goal, and he gives a big kick, and the ball goes into the net, and the crowd goes wild, and Spain is now up 1-0. And of course, Portugal is trying. They got their best player over there. Ramon, is that his name? What? Ronaldo. How do you know that? Yeah, Ronaldo. Yes, everyone's waiting for Ronaldo to come and tie the score. No, he can't do it. And the clock strikes 0, and Portugal loses, and Spain wins. And this one guy that kicked a ball into a net is the biggest hero in the world. The crowd is going wild. But the camera at this time is panning throughout the crowd, and it's showing all of the fans of Portugal. And they look like they're sitting at the edge of a cave or of a grave burying their most beloved person. They are the most depressed people I've ever seen in my life. Stone cold faces, sadness. Looks like people are crying. Ronaldo, I don't know why they did this cruel thing. The camera's following him the entire time. From the field all the way to the locker room, as if the guy is just about to end his life. If you are a fan from Portugal, and you are banking on your team to win, and they lose the big game, hundreds of thousands of fans cheering on their feet, and they lose, and you actually are there and you feel the sting of the loss, then you cry. Then you're sad. Then you feel terrible. Then you say to yourself, that's it, we lost, the game is over. But if you're a Jew who's living in Tarzana, California, 2,000 years after the Beis HaMikdash was destroyed, and you never saw a Kohen, even though everybody in Iran is Kohanim, but you never saw the Kohanim serving in the Beit HaMikdash. You never heard the Leviim singing their mystical songs. You never know what it felt like to come on Pesach, Shavuot, and Sukkot to bring Korbanot, everyone together as one. You don't know what it was like to see open miracles in front of your eyes. You don't know what it was like to be in a place where you felt the Shekhinah palpable everywhere that you looked and everywhere that you turned. And you don't know what it was like to live in a world where there were Nevi'im, where there were prophets. And the prophets you could go to when you had a problem and tell them, what should I do? And the Navi would look inside your eyes, inside your heart, inside your soul. And he would tell you exactly what you need to do in your life to bring about the bracha, to bring about the atzlacha, to bring about the yeshuot v'nechamot. Nobody in this room knows what that looks like. When the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed, it was 1 billion trillion times worse than Portugal losing in the World Cup game, trust me. And the Jewish people were crying miserable tears as they were going into the Galut, and they were turning around and waving goodbye to Yerushalayim in flames of fire, and they knew they don't know when they're going to come back. Al Naharot Bavel Sham Yeshavnu Bebachinu. They sat on the rivers of Bavel and they cried tears after tears because they knew they just lost the game. They lost the Shekhinah. They lost Klal Yisrael. They lost Kohanim. They lost all of the Achdut. They lost it all. But now we're 2,000 years later, and all you're thinking about right now is, I thought they were serving dinner before he speaks. What's going on over here? How long is he going to speak now before they serve that meal? We don't know what we lost. And since we don't know what we lost, it is so hard to mourn and to feel bad. During the 3 weeks, the 9 days that are about to begin, and Tisha B'Av itself may be one of the most painful days for a Jew. I used to daven in a certain place on Tisha B'Av, and there was a fellow that was, we'll say it nicely, a bit overweight. And every year that I was there at that particular minyan, he would be sitting on the floor on Tisha B'Av Day listening to Eicha, reading the keynote, and he would always be complaining. Oh, it's so uncomfortable. Oh, how long is it going to be? Oh, how much do we have to say? Oh, vey, vey, oy, oy, oy. And I thought to myself, sir, one day a year, the Rabbi Shalom asks us, recognize that you're living in a world without a Beit HaMikdash. One day a year, HaKadosh Baruch Hu says, think to yourself what it must have been like when the Shekhinah was right here in front of your eyes. One day a year, think about the Galut that's going on for 2,000 years, and the Jewish people all over the world so far away. And all you can do is complain. All you can do is kvetch. I don't know, is there a good word in Farsi for kvetch? Exactly. Yes. Yeah. Is all you can do is rakor? Yeah? Okay. Sounds good? Good enough. Is that all that you can do is complain? That you're sitting? That you're uncomfortable? We should be sitting on the floor the entire year. We should be mourning every single day. We should be crying when we sit down to a meal, and we have to remind ourselves when we're going to say in our benching, in our Birkat HaMazon afterwards, we're going to speak about Uvenei Yerushalayim Yir HaKodesh. There is no Yerushalayim Yir HaKodesh today. The Yerushalayim with Kentucky Fried Chicken and McDonald's is not the Yerushalayim that we're talking about. And yet we don't. Because we don't know what we're missing. I don't guarantee that by the end of this year tonight we'll actually know what we are missing. But at least let us know how we can work on this idea and this concept of having something to mourn about during this time. The Nefesh HaChaim writes the following idea. He says, V'zois Torah ha'adam, this is the Torah of a person, this is the way that we should live. Kol ish Yisrael, every single Jew. Al yoyma beliboy chas v'shalom, never say in your heart, God forbid, Kimani u'makoichi, what am I? What is my strength? In who am I that I can do anything with my lowly actions, my simple deeds, my small prayers, my tefillin in the morning, trying to guard my mouth from lashon hara, trying to be a little bit better on Shabbat, the way that I keep the halachot. Who am I? What am I going to do? Is a Jew in Tarzana, California? This is Tarzana or Encino? Even worse. Yeah? Is a Jew in Encino, California going to make a difference in this world? Do you think that when you walk down the street instead of getting in your car on Saturday afternoon, it makes such a major difference? You think that when you go to the kosher restaurant instead of the treif restaurant, but no, I only eat kosher at the treif restaurant. How does that work? You'll explain that to me. Do you think it makes such a big difference in the eyes of Hashem? Says the Nefesh HaChaim, Chas v'shalom, God forbid you should ever think such a thing. Amnam yovin v'yedu, you must know and understand. And you have to fix these ideas into your heart. Of everything that you do, everything that you say, of everything that you think, all of the time. Never lost. Portugal loses. A Jew, nothing he does is ever lost. Every bracha that you say on your food, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is paying close attention. Every kind word that you say to another person and lift their spirits, HaKadosh Baruch Hu pays careful attention. Every Shabbat that you keep better than the one that you kept last week, HaKadosh Baruch Hu is paying very careful attention. No chesed is unnoticed. No mitzvah is unseen. No word of Torah that you learn is unheard in Shemaim. Everything HaKadosh Baruch Hu is watching. How great are your actions? How awesome are your deeds? Every single one. Oila kefi shorsha goes up and up and up. Lifo pulato begave meroimim, they do masterful things in Shemaim, in the heavens, ba'olamot, in the worlds, in the spiritual worlds, in the Elyonim, in the upper realm. Did you know that? Did you know that when you're going to come after this 2-hour shir that I'm about to give? I don't know why you're laughing. It's the Beis HaMikdash. We have to talk all night about it. But after the 2-hour shir that I'm about to give, and you're going to sit down to the platter of cookies and watermelon. That's what's catering tonight, right? And you're going to make a bracha. Did you know how big it is in Shemayim? Do you know what it's doing in the heavens tonight? Do you know how it's going to turn the course of events? Do you have any idea? Says the Nefesh HaChaim, Chas v'Shalom, God forbid that a person should ever forget who they really are. And he goes on to explain, why is this true? Besides that we are Tselem Elokim, in the image of God. Besides that our neshama is Chelik Melokam Himal, a piece of the Ribono Shel Olam. He says something fascinating. In Shemayim, there is a Beit HaMikdash. It doesn't have the stones like the one down here. It doesn't have the kotel, the Wailing Wall, like the one down here. It is a spiritual Beit HaMikdash, with all of the Kedusha, with all of the Shekhinah, with all of the power to bring it down to this world. And down here in this world, at one time, there was a Beit HaMikdash, and it paralleled the one that was above. And whatever went on down here, Tenu Oz LaElokim, it gave strength to Hashem up there. When they brought korbanot down here, it made the Beit HaMikdash above stronger, more powerful. When they were doing Achdut and loving the fellow Jew down here by the Yomim Tovim, it gave Koach, strength, to the Beit HaMikdash above. And every time that the Beit HaMikdash got bigger and bigger, it brought more bracha down to this world. More siyata de Shemaya to this world. More of the success to the Jewish people and salvation down here to this world. And then one day the Beit HaMikdash was destroyed. It's no longer here. Says the Nefesh HaChaim, you know what is left in this world? A Jew is left in this world. And you are the microcosm of the Beit HaMikdash. Because every mitzvah that you do, it gives strength to the Beit HaMikdash, the Maila above. Your heart is like the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the Holy of Holies. Your mind is like the purity that the Kohanim had when they were there. And every mitzvah that you do, everything that you are involved with, it elevates and it brings more Kedusha, more power to the Beit HaMikdash Lamala. And then it brings down the bracha, it brings the salvation, it brings the siyata, the shemaya, the heavenly assistance down here to this world. You know what that means? That means that even though that the Beit HaMikdash physically was destroyed, it continues to live on inside of you. And just like the Beit HaMikdash was the center of our universe, and it was the source of all of our bracha, and it's what brought the Shekhinah down to this world, a Jew has to know, you are the center of this universe, and you bring the bracha down to this world, and all of the goodness, all of the success, all the Yeshuot and Nechamot, everything that we need, it all comes through a simple Jew just like ourselves. And therefore we have to examine to make sure that the Beit HaMikdash inside of us is functioning full steam ahead. Because if it's not, and if there are fractures, and if there are breaks, and if there are inconsistencies, and if there are flaws inside the Beit HaMikdash in here, then that means the one above also has flaws. And then how is Hashem ever going to bring a Beit HaMikdash back to us? Rabbi Horowitz writes a fascinating halakha, and he learns it out to describe what a person needs to accomplish in their life. And the halakha is the following. Let's say that you have 2 loaves of bread in front of you. One is actually not a full loaf, one is a big piece of sourdough bread, the most tastiest, delicious, with the hard crust on the outside, the soft dough on the inside, and you didn't cut your finger off while you were slicing into it. Baruch Hashem. And you are looking forward to eating this piece of bread. And next to that big, gigantic piece of sourdough bread, there's a small, tiny roll that is made out of barley flour. Ugh, barley flour is for animals. It's dark, it's hard, it's tough. Even the sourdough knife cannot cut in to that little roll. And now you're ready to wash. Netilat Yadayim. You're going to say Hamotzi over the bread. And you want to know, which one of these breads do I say a bracha on? On the delicious piece of sourdough that I want to eat? Or the whole little tiny roll that doesn't look so appetizing to me? You know what the halacha is? You make the bracha on the little roll that doesn't look so good. You know why? Because that is shalem, that is complete, and the piece of bread is just a piece of bread. Something that is shalem, that is complete, that is whole, is always more valuable in halacha, in the mitzvah, than something that is cut a piece in half or the like. Says Rabbi Yerucham, the same thing is true in our midot, in our character. The same thing is true in our mitzvot, in our actions. A person might excel in one area of the Torah. In chesed, woo, such a big Baal chesed, amazing. This guy will do everything. This lady, you can ask her for anything, she does it. Shabbat, not so careful. Lashon hara, while she's in the middle of doing the chesed, she's spewing all the great lashon hara that's going on in the community. In Encino, I heard there is lashon hara. In Tarzana, we don't know what that is. This guy comes in every morning. He puts on his tefillin. He's there early. You know, my father-in-law, he should live and be well. He was once by a Sephardi shul on Shabbat. And he's sitting in the front row, and he did one of the greatest aveirot that you can do in a Sephardi shul. He sat there and he crossed his legs. You know, he sat like this, crossed his legs, right in front of this, on the Aron Kodesh. And a good, serious Sephardi Jew sitting next to him said, "No!" He says, "What? No!" He says, "What?" And he hits his legs. "Oh, okay, I'm sorry." Davening goes on a little bit longer. My father-in-law got comfortable again, and he leaned back and he crossed his legs. And the guy says, "No!" He says, "What? No!" He says, "Your legs, your legs." Sorry. And it went on like this, the whole davening. Davening is over. They go downstairs for the kiddush. They walk out of the shul. My father-in-law begins walking back to his house. He sees this guy walk over to a car, get in the car, and drive away. For the legs crossed in shul, woo, it's a tzaddik. Mechalel Shabbat b'farhesia, that doesn't bother him so much. Says Rabbi Yerucham, in life we're looking for shleimut. Could be small little things, but we're trying to be complete and whole. Our midot should be beautiful. Our mitzvot should be beautiful. Our chesed should be beautiful. We try our best to do as much as we can. We can't do everything, we understand. We can't do every single mitzvah that there is in the Torah and be perfect in all of our mitzvahs. We understand that. But we're trying and we're striving to be better today than we were yesterday. And tomorrow, we're going to try to be better than we were today, and so on and so forth, every single day, because we know shleimut, perfection. That is something that is very valuable in the eyes of Hashem. I know of a family, husband and a wife, they're married for many years, and they did not have very good shalom bayit. They struggled many, many years in the shalom bayit, screaming and yelling and arguing and never getting along and this and that. And they raised children, and they raised beautiful children. They had a very nice family, but their shalom bayit was like, it was like a war all of the time. And then their kids began getting married, and their kids had children, now they have grandchildren. And it became a joke in the family that every time that Baba June and Mama June are around, they're always fighting with each other. And the kids used to put on plays about their grandparents, how they would scream and yell at each other. And it became the joke of the family. One summer, the grandparents said to their children, "We'd like to take you on vacation. Let's go rent a house in the mountains. Let's take the kids out there. It's going to be very beautiful. We'll pay for everything. We'll take care of all the food. We'll take care of it all. You just come. Let us have nachat from our children and grandchildren." And the kids said, "Sounds like a wonderful idea." And they go up to this house. I think it was in Big Bear, the story. And in this particular house, there was a roof that was like from the top. There was a bedroom, and from the bedroom there was a windowsill, and it was slanted like this. And the grandparents kept fighting throughout the entire trip. And one day, the grandmother gives over the iPad to her grandson, who's about maybe 3 years old. And he's sitting right by the window, and he's playing some game in the days when the games were much kosher than they are today. And the kid leans up against the screen of the second story window, and the screen pops out, and the kid begins rolling down the slanted roof that's right next to the window. Everybody in the house is screaming, "Ah! He's falling, he's falling!" And the kid rolls and rolls and rolls and rolls. It was a miracle. It was such a very long sill that by the time he got to the bottom, he just rolled off the top just like this. But he was frightened, he was scared, he was screaming. And now the grandfather comes running. And he is furious. And instead of picking up the grandson to make sure that he's okay, he begins screaming at his wife, the grandmother, in front of all the children and grandchildren. "What's the matter with you? Don't you watch your grandchildren?" Meanwhile, the kid's crying on the floor. "Don't you see what's going on?" And the poor grandmother, she's so embarrassed, you can't imagine. She's so embarrassed, turning white. And the kids are watching, the grandchildren are watching their father screaming and yelling, "What's the matter? Don't you understand? I can't believe you." And the place goes quiet. And nobody says a word. The kids don't say a word. The grandchildren don't say a word. The grandmother goes off crying, and the grandfather's huffing and puffing. That was the day they were checking out of the house. And for the next few hours, barely anybody spoke. In the car ride home, the grandfather was driving some of the kids, and the grandmother was driving some of the other kids. The grandfather did not open his mouth once in the long car ride from Big Bear back to Los Angeles. And the kids were sitting in the back. I don't want to get in his way right now. And they're quiet as could be, don't want to say a word. They get back to the house, and all the cars pull up in the driveway, and no one's talking still. And the grandfather gets out of the car and he's very shaken up. And he says, I would like everyone to gather around me. He says, Grandma, Mama June, my children, everyone come here. And then he looks at everybody, he starts crying. And he said, I made a very big mistake today. I acted very inappropriately. My wife never deserves to be spoken to or yelled at like that. For many years, he says, Mama June has asked me to go get help because I have this midah of kas, of anger, that I have a very hard time controlling. And I keep telling her, there's nothing wrong with me, I'm fine. But now I realize that it's true. I cannot control my anger. And I don't know how to treat my wife. And I accept upon myself now, I'm going to get the help that I need. This story takes place, I believe, about 16 or 17 years ago. Someone pointed this couple out to me recently. And I spent about half an hour talking with them. And then I observed them, what they were doing. And I will tell you the following. If I would never tell you this story, you would never ever know that once upon a time this couple was like rams battling heads all day long. You would never know that the husband screamed and yelled at his wife. You would never know that the wife used to go into her room and cry herself to sleep because he was so cruel to her. You would never know. Because when a person puts into their mind that shleimut, that being better, is what life is all about, because I am a Beis HaMikdash and the Shekhinah is going to come down through me, then that person will work and work and work, and they can transform and change themselves. This is the time where we are working on ourselves, because the Beis HaMikdash is destroyed, but it's still alive inside of us. One of the other places where we find that there is still a Beis HaMikdash in the world is that every Jewish home, the Bayit Ne'eman, the faithful house to Hashem, is a microcosm of the Beis HaMikdash. When I was a young Chatan, I was just married, and I came back to Baltimore to go learn in Kollel. And one morning I was davening in a shul where the rabbi's name was Rabbi Vitzik. And Rabbi Vitzik was a student of none other than the Horowitz Chaim. That's like the Ben Ish Chai of Ashkenazi Jewry. And a friend of mine that I was with said, Rabbi Vitzik, this is my friend. He just got married. He just finished Sheva Brachot. He's starting his life. Rabbi Vitzik, give him a bracha. Please, give him a bracha. And this old wise man who learned by the Horowitz Chaim looked at me and he said the following words. May the Shekhinah always be comfortable in your home. Do you know what that means? I thought about this bracha a lot over the last 27 years almost of my marriage, Bli Ayin Hara. Do you know what it means that the Shekhinah is always comfortable in your home? That means that whenever he decides to come in, whenever he just happens to be in the neighborhood and he wants to say hello, he feels comfortable walking into your house. That means that you and your wife and you and your husband always talking nicely to each other. That means that there's always peace and simcha in the house. That means the words that are coming out of our mouth are the words that if you knew that the Shekhinah was walking in at this moment, you would never be embarrassed about the words that are coming out of your mouth. If you have one of these big screens on your wall, I don't envy you. But if you do, you would make sure that it's always something is showing that if the Shekhinah would come in right now, he would be okay and comfortable walking into that house. When he sees you with your children, how do you love them? How do you care about them? How do you talk to them? How do you hug them? How do you kiss them? How do you put them on your lap and give them a good time? How do you talk nice to them? How do you know how to put down your phone at the end of a long day? And when your children come into the house, you bend down and you look at them in the eyes so you can see them, so you can see what kind of a day did my son have? Did my daughter have? Maybe they need their father or their mother right now, not their father or their mother who's on the phone, too busy to see them. The Shekhinah should always be comfortable in your home. But you are the only one that can create an environment where the Shekhinah will be comfortable. The time of the 3 weeks is the time in our life where we're able to work on making our homes a Beis HaMikdash, a house of Kedusha, a house of peace. You know, the Mishnah tells us in Pirkei Avot that there were 10 nisim, 10 miracles that took place every day in the Beis HaMikdash. And one of them was famously Omdim Tzafufim. When they would stand, they would come for Sukkot, they would come for Pesach, they would come for Shavuot. There are hundreds of thousands, millions of Jews in a small area. And when they were standing there, they were tzufufim, like sardines. They were shoved in with each other like this. But you know that sometimes you have to bow down, all the way on the ground. There's no room. Says the Mishnah, there was a miracle. However, umishtachavim ravachim. When they would bow down, there was plenty of space. How could you explain that? If you're standing like this and there's nowhere to move, how could it be that when you prostrate yourself on the ground, suddenly everybody has all the space in the world? Says the Mishnah, that was a miracle that HaKadosh Baruch Hu made. It expanded. But some of the Mefarshim explain, you know why? Because when the hearts of Klal Yisrael expand, and you want what is best for every single Jew that is there, and you want each one to be able to serve the Ribono Shel Olam in their special way, so then suddenly there's all the space in the world inside the Beis HaMikdash, and everybody can bow down. In your house, is it tzfufim? Are you on top of each other? Are you squeezing each other? Is there no place to move? Can you not breathe? You know, I once spoke to a prominent marriage counselor, a therapist, a woman, and she told me, Rabbi Horowitz, I want to tell you what is the biggest cause of unrest in marital harmony. Now, this is a woman talking. So, we have to believe her because they never tell a lie. She says, do you know why most marriages are suffering shalom bayit? Men, you're going to like this one. Because the women don't stop nagging their husbands. They complain and they kvetch. What's kvetch again? More. Yes. They kvetch and they complain. You know, I was thinking, imagine when you're standing under the chuppah. Remember when you were standing under the chuppah? Do you remember that all the way back then? and you are looking at each other, and the wife is looking at her husband with these googly eyes. She's dreaming about the amazing, amazing life she's going to have. And the husband also, he's looking out at the whole crowd, he's looking at all the fixtures, and he also has googly eyes. He's thinking to himself, how did I get conned into making such an expensive wedding? Are you tzvufim? Is there no room to breathe in your house? Is there no room for a person to be who they are? Do we not accept our spouses for their strengths and their faults, for their weaknesses? Do we not accept our children, young children? No child is perfect. We think that we are perfect, and therefore every child should be perfect from day number one. They can't make any mistakes. They can never act out of line. They can never misbehave. It's not true. We are not perfect, and our children are not perfect. But are we tzfufim? Are we on top of each other? Are we suffocating one another? Are there sardines in our house? Or is it revachim? Is there plenty of space? Is there plenty of room? Is there plenty of understanding and patience and love and warmth and shalom and peace between everyone in that house? Which kind of a house do you have? You know what's a miracle? If it's revachim, if it's spacious. We're not talking about the size of a house. The Beis HaMikdash could not contain everybody comfortably. But when they bowed down, there was plenty of room. Whether you live in a small apartment, or you live in a palatial estate, or something in between, it doesn't matter. It's the environment and the atmosphere that you create in that house. That's what's going to define how it's going to be. One of the greatest tragedies of our generation, which is just a sign of our long galut, is all of the struggling children that there are in the world today. Children that are no longer wearing their kippot, girls that are no longer wearing their skirts, boys that no longer put on tefillin, young ladies that no longer eat kosher food, kids that are not keeping Shabbat, Rachmano litzlan. It's one of the tragedies of our generation, and we would not wish this on anyone. One of the pioneers in the world of working with children that are off of the derech, off the pathways of Yiddishkeit, is a very special Jew by the name of Rabbi Shimon Russell. He has organizations and he goes around the world and he's mechazik people and teaches people. And he helps to bring families into understanding how to deal with their children. And he tells over the following story. There was a wonderful family in Lakewood, New Jersey. All of the kids in that family, Baruch Hashem, beautiful. Torah, mitzvot, kiddusha, everything. One kid. Let's call him Yitzi. Yitzi was struggling. And he began slowly but surely. He stops going to yeshiva. He stops wearing a yarmulke, he stops putting on his tefillin, and the next thing you know, he's no longer keeping Shabbat. He's already a teenager, 17, 18 years old. And one Friday night, as things are getting very intense in the house, the father says, Yitzi, I'm going to shul, you want to come with me? No. Okay. Father goes to shul Friday night, comes back to the house, they're standing around the table getting ready to say Kiddush, and Yitzi comes walking down the stairs, jeans, t-shirt, no yarmulke, defiant look on his face. And the father stares at him, and they're already having a very rough relationship. And Yitzi's standing there like this, and he's listening to his father say Kiddush. Yoy ma'ashishi v'yichulu hashamayim v'aretz v'chol tzvam. And Yitzi starts leaning back and back and back towards the wall. Right in front of the light switch. And all of the kids and the mother are watching what's going on over here. And the father's beginning to get a little bit nervous also. And Yitzi keeps walking back and he's standing like this, looking at his father making Kiddush. And Yitzi goes like this and purposely turns the light off. Friday night in the house in Lakewood, New Jersey, while his father is making Kiddush. And the father lost it. He throws down the Kiddush cup. He says, "You!" And he starts running around the table to catch him. And all the kids are running, screeching and running. And the father's running around the table. The mother's saying, "Stop, stop, stop!" And he's running and running and running. And the son runs out the door. And he grabs a rake that's on the ground. And he goes to all the windows and he starts smashing the windows Friday night. Smashes them all. And the father and the mother and the children are in shock. And they are crying, and Yitzi runs away. And the rest of Shabbat, they don't see him. After Shabbos is over, the parents receive a phone call from the uncle. And he says, "Yitzi came running to my house. I understand that things are not going so well. He's welcome to stay at my house as long as he needs." Now the father and the mother realize that they're in trouble because they don't know how to deal with their son. So they call up Rabbi Russell and they ask him for help. And they begin meeting after meeting after meeting, and he teaches them to understand the psyche of a child that's traumatized, the psyche of a child that is done with Yiddishkeit, of a child that is running away. And after 5 months of not seeing their son, the uncle calls and says, "Yitzi would like to come home this week for Shabbat. Will you let him?" And so the parents said, "Of course. He's our son. If he wants to come home, of course." And they hang up with the uncle and they call Rabbi Russell. And they say, he's coming this week. What are we going to do?" He says, "Calm down. You worked very hard the last 5 months. You're prepared. Let's go through the drill again. Let's go through everything. What if he comes down in his jeans and his t-shirt? You react like this. And what if he starts leaning towards the light switch? You act like this. And what if he turns off the light once again? What are you going to do?" And he told them exactly what to do. Yitzi comes home Friday afternoon. Woo! Yitzi's here. Everybody's so excited. Everybody hugs him, kisses him. "Yitzi, we miss you. Your room is waiting for you." Goes up to his room. Friday night, the father's going to shul. "Yitzi, I'm going to shul. You want to come?" "No, that's okay, Dad. I'm fine." Father comes home, starts to sing Shalom Aleichem, Eshet Chayil at the table, and Yitzi comes walking down the stairs. Jeans, t-shirt, no kippah, defiant look on his face. Flashbacks to 5 months ago. Yoim HaShishi Vaychul HaShamayim. And Yitzi starts taking 3 steps back, not to daven Shmoneh Esrei. He's taking 3 steps back towards the light switch once again. And as the father's in the middle of making Kiddush, he's getting close to the end, suddenly Yitzi walks right back into the light switch. Boom! All the lights go off. And the father doesn't stop making Kiddush. And when he finishes, he takes the cup of grape juice to his son. And he says, "Yitzi, I only wish I knew then what I know now. I'm sorry that I treated you the way that I did. I'm sorry that I treated you the way that I did." And at that moment, the father started crying, and Yitzi started crying, and they were in an embrace, heaving on each other. And the mother comes in and she is crying, and the kids come in and they're crying, and the next thing you know, the whole family is slid to the ground. They're wailing and crying beyond belief. And that was the first day of Yitzi's return to the world of Torah and mitzvot. Because when you're tzfufim, when you are shoved into the house like this, and there is no space, your house cannot be a house of peace. Husbands and wives cannot get along. Parents and children cannot get along. Children and children's siblings cannot get along. There's got to be ravachim, space. Our house is a Beis HaMikdash. And the same miracles that happen in the Beis HaMikdash can happen in your house as well, if only you will make the space for everyone else. And lastly, because I know that you're waiting for your cantaloupe and grapes, we know that the sin that destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, the second temple, of course, was sinat chinam, was what we call senseless hatred. One Jew hated another Jew for no reason. Now the problem is that whenever we hate another Jew, we always think, I have a good reason. This person did this to me, and she did that to me, and they did that to me, and they did this. Of course I'm going to hate them. Says the Torah, sinat chinam destroyed the Beis HaMikdash. If you believe in the Ribono Shel Olam, you believe and you trust in Hashem, then every single person that steps into your life is supposed to be there. And everything that happens to you is supposed to happen. And if this person hurt you, they were supposed to hurt you. And Hashem is the one that sent them to do that shlichut, to do that mission. And if you get angry with them, sinat chinam, you are hating a person for no reason, you're really angry with HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore it's especially during this time of the year that we examine our relationships. We examine the people that are really, really, really annoying us and bothering us and frustrating us and disappointing us and letting us down and getting under our skin. And we need to begin to pull the sinat chinam out of our hearts. Because if that's what destroyed the Beis HaMikdash, that is what is going to rebuild the Beis HaMikdash when we work on the after l'reyecha kamecha. We will love another Jew the way that we love ourselves. It's not just what you find on the back window of a car. It's not what you find on a bus bench in Tarzana, Encino, California. It is what we find inside of our hearts. Love another Jew the way that you love yourself, because that will get rid of the terrible sin of sinat chinam. You cannot do that to everyone that you hate. I hope you don't hate too many people. But I'm sure that there's at least one person in your life right now that bothers you. Every time that you see them, your blood starts to boil. When you just think about them, your heart starts to race. When you walk into certain shuls, if you see that they're there, you walk out the door and you go someplace else. Im lo achshav ematai. If we're not going to work on it now, then when will we ever do it? Now, during this time of the year, you have special bracha, special siyata d'shemaya, that you pick one person that you want to work on to stop hating them in your heart so much. Might be your wife, might be your husband, might be your yitzi, might be your sister, might be your brother, might be your neighbor, might be that guy in shul that I don't know why he doesn't understand that when he bangs his belt on the table 75 times in the middle of Shemona Esrei, and it keeps going, why he doesn't understand that he's bothering everybody in the shul. I don't know why he doesn't understand that, but stop hating him. Maybe buy him a new belt made out of rubber. That will be better. If you pick one person right now, we have 2 weeks to go still, week and a half. You can transform the sina into ava, the hatred into love, the disgust into appreciation. And that rebuilds the Beis HaMikdash. I want to leave you off with one more story before the yellow rice comes out. After the War of Independence in Israel, there's a neighbor in Yerushalayim called Sanhedria. And Sanhedria was bordering right on the Jordan, really Jordan at that time. The Jordanians were right there. And so even though that the Jewish people had won the war, but we were still fighting against the Jordans, it was very risky territory to live in. The holiday of Pesach was coming, and the Jewish people in Sanhedrin were getting themselves prepared. And there was, all the neighbors got together, and there was like what we would call shomrim. Each one had to be a guard at night to make sure that it was the streets of Sanhedrin, Jerusalem, were safe. And for the night of the Seder, Pesach night, nobody wanted to be on duty. Everybody wanted to be home to make the Seder with their family. So they decided they'll make a gorel, a lottery. Everybody from the neighborhood put their name on a piece of paper and tossed it into a bowl. And then one person picked out the name, and that is going to be the person the night of the Seder is going to have to guard the streets. And if, God forbid, the Jordanians start coming through, they'll sound the alarms, and the police will come, and the army will step in the way, and Bezat Hashem, they'll be safe. So, everybody puts in their name into the bowl, and they pull out the name, and the name is Avi. Who is Avi? Avi HaKablan. Avi, the contractor. Now, Avi was not a very religious man, but he keeps Pesach. He has a Seder. And he was very, very agitated that he got picked to be the guard that night. And he starts making a big fuss. It's not fair. You know what? I'm not going to have a Seder. That's fine. My family won't have a Seder. My wife won't have a Seder. My kids won't. It's fine. I'll be on duty. Everybody else is going to be in their house. They're going to make a Seder. I won't make a Seder. No problem. I can't believe you chose me. I just can't believe it. The night of the Seder, the holiest night of the year, how could you do this to me? So there was one Jew that was there, whose name was Rabbi Yosef Schenberger. Big Talmud Chacham, big Torah scholar, and also was an engineer, an exceptional Jew. In the end, he ended up designing many special things in Israel with his engineering skills. Mikvaot, shuls, yeshivas, big yeshivas of Kol Torah and Shabin, and even the Minor Yeshua Medical Center in Bnei Brak. He's the one, the biggest, I believe, one of the biggest hospitals with the most births per year in the Bnei Brak hospital was designed by this Jew, Rabbi Yosef. And he saw how upset Avi was. And said, you know what, Avi? I don't want to ruin your Pesach. So you know what? I'll be on guard duty. You go home and be with your family. And when the duty is over, I'll go home. I'll make the Seder late at night. And Avi said, really? You'll do that for me? For me, you'll do that? Sure. Why not? I see that it really upsets you. I see that it really bothers you. My family will wait. No problem. You go home. I'll be the guard. And he was very grateful, Avi. Very grateful. Thank you so much. You barely even know me. I can't believe it. You're so nice. Thank you. Avi goes home, makes the Seder. Yosef patrols the streets. Baruch Hashem, was a quiet night. When the shift came to an end, he went home and he made the Seder. Story over. That's it. Until it goes on. And as 19 years later, there was the 6-Day War. And after the end of the 6-Day War, for those of you that are up to know what history is all about, the Jewish people were able to take back the Kotel HaMa'aravi. They got back the Western Wall. After it was in the hands of the Arabs for so long, finally they were able to get it back. And they cleared the place out, and they were getting it ready now for tefillah, for people to come and pray. And the Israeli government is deciding how exactly they're going to set up the Wailing Wall. So one of the people that was involved was a man by the name of Mordechai ben Tuv. He was called the Sar HaShikun, which means the Minister of Housing. And he said, the Kotel is a national monument for the Jewish people. And we have to make it one big plaza, and everybody can come and everybody can go, men and women all together, no problem. And the religious Jews were saying, how can you do such a thing? This is the Kotel. This is the last piece that we have of the wall of the Beis HaMikdash. People need to come and they have to pray here every single day. Shacharit, Mincha, Arvit, say Tehillim, they wouldn't want to cry out their eyes. How can you do such a thing? So they said, why don't we do this? We'll make the front for davening, right by the Kotel will be for davening, for prayer. And then we'll make like a plaza in the back, raised a little bit. And that's where everybody can come and they can stand, take the nice pictures of the Kotel that you can hang on your fireplace. And it'll be perfect. And there was a whole fight that broke out. The government did not want to allow the Kotel. You imagine? I mean, you could imagine when you see what's going on today. They did not want to allow the Kotel to be a place of prayer. They wanted to be a public place where men and women will just come and mingle with each other. This Rabbi Yosef that we spoke about 19 years earlier, so Rabbi Yosef was the one that was given the job of engineering the whole plaza of the Kotel. And he begged and begged and begged with this Rav Mordechai over here, please let us divide it into two things. We'll make the front very nice for prayers and we'll elevate the back a little bit and then we'll make that the plaza. What's the problem? Back and forth they fought. And Mordechai would not give in. So this Yosef goes to the head kablan, the head contractor who's doing the job by the Kotel, and he says, do me a favor please. He says, this is the Kotel, the holiest place in the world. We can't turn it into a public mixing place. He said, they're not going to let you do it, but I'm asking you to do this for the sake of Klal Yisrael. Please make the front only for davening and make the back for gathering. And make the back raised up so that it's separate from the front, so it's like an actual shul. And the contractor said, for you, no problem, we'll do our best. He said, do they let us? No. He says, please, I'm begging you to do it. You know what? It's worthwhile, I'll do it. And they start working, and they start making the front of the Kotel the way that it is, just for prayers. But this Mordechai ben Tuv found out what's going on, and he said, stop immediately. It's only one way. It's only a plaza for men and for women. This is not a place of prayer. This is the Kotel. It's a replica. We're going to come here just to be able to see it. Do not make it a place of prayer. Stop it now. And Yosef goes back to the Kablan, the contractor, and says, I beg of you, and I promise you, if you will not listen to this person, Mordechai ben Tuv, and you will make this a place of prayer for men over here and women over here, I promise you. Do you know how many hundreds of thousands and millions of tefillot are going to happen over here over the years? And you, my friend, are going to get an enormous amount of schar. Because you are the one that went against the government, you are the one who did the right thing, and you built it in the right way, and you are going to be able to get all of those prayers. Please, for Klal Yisrael, for your brothers and your sisters, the Jewish people, for yourself and your children and your grandchildren and your great-grandchildren, I beg of you, please do this. And the contractor looks at Yosef and he says, Rabbi Yosef, you don't recognize me? And he says, no. He says, Avi the Kablan. Do you remember Pesach 19 years ago? Do you remember when I didn't want to be the guard? And you sacrificed your Seder so that I could go home with my family? I never forgot the love that you showed to me that night. Ever. And if that's all that you're asking for, I'm going to do everything in my ability to be able to do that for you. Rabbi Yosef Shenberg had a son-in-law whose name is Rav Yisrael Gans. Rav Yisrael Gans today is one of the biggest poskim halachic authorities in Israel. And he said, Avi, do me one favor. Make the plaza behind the wall, make it 18 tefachim high. If it's that high, it's a completely separate reshut, a separate domain, and then that will be all on its own, and in front of the kotel will be like its own shul, its own Beit HaKnesset, just in front of the wall. Can you do that? He said, once we're doing it, let's do it right, for sure. And then Rav Yosef gives him bracha after bracha after bracha. He answers Amen. And under the nose of this Mordechai ben Tuv, they made the kotel the way that it is today. So that you and I, and all the Jews from around the world, and all the Jews that live in Israel and go and they pray at the kotel every single day, can come and pray and pray and pray at the kotel, the last wall of the Beit HaMikdash we can touch with our hands. Pour out our hearts to our Father in Shemayim, feel a glimpse of what the Beit HaMikdash was like and what it's going to be like. All because one Jew loved another Jew. And therefore, if we work on these three things, we're working on our personal Beit HaMikdash on the inside. We want to be better. And we're working on the Beit HaMikdash in our house. We want our house to be a place where the Shekhinah always feels comfortable. He can knock on the door, come in any time. And we're working on getting rid of the sinat chinam, the hatred, one Jew for another. Find one Jew this week that you want to love more than you usually do. And that's a chut, Bezat Hashem. We should be zeicha that this year, Tisha B'Av, we don't sit on the floor here in Los Angeles. And the Jews in New York don't sit on the floor in New York. And the Jews in Australia don't sit in this floors on Australia. And the Jews in Yerushalayim don't sit on the floor in front of the kotel. But rather all of the Jews from all over the world, they come singing and dancing in Yerushalayim HaKodesh, not svufim, not stuck together like this, but berevachim, we're prostrating ourselves to Hashem with the building of the Bayis Shlishi, the third Beit HaMikdash, bimheira v'yameinu.